All right, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Springing into Football. We had a wild week with the draft taking place last week on Tuesday, as well as our free agents being drafted and selected to new teams. We had the quarterbacks come in on Monday, quarterbacks on Tuesday, and then we had the free agents follow up throughout the latter portion of the week. So there was a lot of things that the league had going on. They were still finalizing coaches on kind of the latter portion of the previous week as well. So we've had a lot going on, but we wanted to kind of unpack everything before we get a scheduled release here on Thursday. So what better time to kind of get an episode out? We know the national championship's happening right now, so but for all of our football lovers, but we thought it would be a great time to kind of just take the air and give you some insight of kind of to what happened and kind of share some of our opinions as well. So we're going to start out with the UFL draft. Obviously, the biggest storyline of our topics this week. We talked about some of those players that got drafted, just really, names that we know. I feel like everybody that got drafted, whether it was a name I knew in the previous format of the league or whether it's a name I knew in the NFL. So kind of we can start off with this. I know it's a little bit kind of off script, but what were some names that kind of stood out to you guys? You can take any team, whether it's the team you cheer for or whether it's the team that, maybe you're interested to see kind of, how they, go about their year with maybe their coach. Obviously we know all the coaches are different. We'll get into that. Some of them were hired last time we were on the air, but just some players that maybe stand out to you guys. Obviously Raf showing one of the players that he might get into, but what do you guys think? No, you're not gonna.
Nope, not gonna get into Clayton Tune.
Okay.
He played pretty bad against Minnesota.
Okay, how about another player?
I mean, actually, speaking of Minnesota, I like the pick Jaren Hall by the Birmingham Stallions.
Mm-hmm.
It just happened to be a former Viking, former Seahawk. Jaren Hall, of course, known as the Mormon Missile throughout his times in Brigham Young University. He's one player I think that's a good one. And another quarterback has to be Dorian Thompson-Robinson. That one was I kind of thought about it, but I don't really know. And then Michael Pratt. Michael Pratt is a clear, just clean professional quarterback, and I think he'll be a good UFL addition.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think everybody you mentioned, these are names we've heard. Michael Pratt was with the Packers. Jaren Hall was with the Vikings, like you said. I think we saw him play in a couple games when Josh Dobbs got hurt following Kirk Cousins' injury. So these are names like people know, and we're excited to have them a part of our league because they did really good at college. So and not that long ago. So it's good to see that we kind of get them, potentially either going back or just seeing more action of them because they didn't get the role they were expecting going into the NFL. Diego, what were some of the players that kind of stood out to you? Doesn't have to be on the Stallions; it could be anybody. But what do you think?
I think that just there were a lot that unfolded, and I think right now I'm still trying to process everyone who got drafted and all.
Yeah.
But I think a few names that probably do stand out to me is Carlos Davis, of course, to the St. Louis Battlehawks. It was a player I did not see leaving. I mean, he just built that level of consistency and was a productive player on our defensive line. But at the same time, I can kind of see why St. Louis would want to pick him up. I mean, we saw the success with Khalil Davis when he was with the Stallions. But building off of that, there were players like Lynn Bowden for the Louisville Kings, which I thought was a great selection. Nice to see some NFL recognition. Hesman Watson also, which I believe he was drafted by the Kings as well. It's just insane just to see all these guys that we know in the NFL are now coming to the UFL and really just goes to show that Rapoli and the rest of these guys are really just trying to bring in names that we know. Like, it doesn't have to be guys that we may know from a local college or whatever. Just really just kind of a mix of everybody.
Yeah,
Yeah,
one pick.
go
Well,
ahead,
so one
go ahead.
pick that Louisville did grab it. He was in the NFL last year. This time was Irv Smith Jr. So like this time, like he could have been in the NFL right now on a practice squad, which is a pretty interesting pick to me.
Yeah, no, I think you guys hit the nail on the head. I think something that we kind of noticed throughout like the early going was that like just with the coaches that they were trying to get somebody like that would bring kind of that local draw. But we didn't, I don't think, it wasn't a theme that kind of carried out throughout the draft. But that's fine. Like Diego said, like these guys are guys we know, and it's not necessarily about like, getting people that are known in that college town because, it's just about creating a platform wherever they may end up and potentially either getting them back to the NFL or just potentially for the player themselves, just wanting to see more time on the field. And, so kind of the two ends of our league, we talk about it all the time here on Spring Into Football is that like not everybody's out to, to get back into the league, but some people just want to, show that they're, actually, worth it in the game of football and that they made it in some sort. So,
Something I want to add on really quick.
Mhm.
Clayton Tune to the Columbus Aviators. That was another pick that a lot of guys were high on. Yeah, I know Ferris. I know. And if you guys don't know, Ferris has officially declared himself as an Aviators fan.
I declare myself an Aviator.
AJ,
Look, I declare myself an Aviator fan when my boy Jalen Morton was drafted there or allocated there.
Yeah.
That's when I was like, all right,
former
I'm an
Stallion
Aviator
baby.
fan.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
since AJ isn't here, he did announce that he is rooting for the Storm.
Yeah.
Formerly a Stallions fan. I don't know why he would switch, but he's from Florida, so.
But
But
doesn't he live like near Birmingham?
yeah,
No,
like somewhere. What?
He moved to like the Gainesville area, so in Florida.
Gainesville, Florida. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That makes
He's
sense.
like, yeah. So, I guess
But
he's kind of close. Yeah.
But back to my original point, Clayton Tune, he just played for the Packers a few weeks ago, was activated.
Terrible.
And then a week later he selected to the Aviators. So it's gonna be interesting just to see what he's gonna be able to do. Obviously, he was drafted originally by Arizona, never really panned out, went to Green Bay. And no, it's just one of those guys that's just gonna be interesting to see. How is he going to take this opportunity?
Yeah. Something I will note
He's probably
is
gonna
that
suck.
like, so yeah,
Yeah.
Ralph's a big fan of Jalen Morton, and it's a huge reason why he's a fan of the Aviators, and he wants him to start out of all three of the quarterbacks that we got allocated. So, if it wasn't obvious, but so one thing that I did want to kind of get your guys's opinion on is that like like you said, like Clayton Tune was in the NFL a couple weeks ago. Like, can you just imagine like the conversations that he might have had to have with some of the UFL front office? Like, okay, like I was just in the NFL a couple weeks ago, and now I'm going to spring football where I have another chance to play in a couple months. And like I just had a full season full of work. Obviously, I was a backup. I didn't have QB1 reps. I didn't have starter week reps. All week. So like, what do you guys think of that? Like, is it obviously it's you guys think it's better to have recent players in the NFL, or do you think like they should just stay in the NFL as long as possible? I mean, what do you guys think?
Hey, can we watch this first? Yeah, I got a video to share first. We gotta watch this.
Okay.
Hold up. No,
All right.
full screen, bro. What the hell is this?
I'm ready. Is it working?
Lay it on us.
Bro, did you guys not watch that?
What?
You guys not watch that?
Oh,
bro, it was a video.
No, we just got it.
You just watched it? Bro. That's what I have to say.
My. I see the title there.
Yep.
All right.
That's what I had to share.
Yeah. But you heard it here first. Rob's not a big fan of one of the quarterback allocations to the Aviators, Clayton Tune, and that's totally fine. The whole point of this draft was your team is gonna get players that you like, and your team is gonna get players that you don't like. Yeah, so there were a lot of players that the Aviators got that I'm like, okay. There were a lot of players in the league in general that like I remember with my Titans, and like they were not good in the NFL. So I don't listen, I'm not like doubting the NFL to UFL transition. I'm just saying like, okay, how are they going to look now at another professional football league stage? But it's like, okay, they've been removed from the game for a little while. So it's like, okay, maybe they're going to be at the same level they were in the NFL. So maybe not as good. So just a little side note. But so we can get in here to notable free agents. So Diego had some names here on the topics list. So Boogie Roberts. I remember he said something in the Pro Football Newsroom Discord, which I've been very active in here the last month or so. He just cussed out the league. He's like, I'm done with this. Like, what's going on? I don't know what happened. Like, that's, you hate to see that, but like Marquette King, Jamar Smith, and Ricky Person are also some other names that Diego threw out there. Yeah, so just some names, just some current players that are available. What do you guys think? Do you guys think these players are going to get picked up? Do you think they're going to, say some more things about the league? Like we've seen some of them say, like I just mentioned with Boogie Roberts and Jamar. We'll get into it here in a little bit, but Rob, you're very aware of the Jamar Smith interaction, right?
Oh yeah, I'm very well aware.
Okay, all right, just making sure.
I had a very similar interaction with Mark Thompson a year ago.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. That's right.
I had a very similar interaction with Mark Thompson.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Oh, you want to bring it up?
Yeah. No, bring up the Jamar, and I'll bring up the Mark Thompson.
Okay. Yeah. So Jamar Smith, one of our free agents here. So obviously, every team has 2 or 3 quarterbacks allocated so far, mostly 3, but it could come to that time where a team needs a quarterback during the season and somebody might get hurt or somebody might not be playing as well as advertised. Jamar Smith had an interesting interaction with you a couple months ago. And if you want to show,
it wasn't a month. It was like about a week ago.
Oh,
like
yeah,
right
yeah,
before
you're right.
the draft,
you're right.
I think.
Sorry, yeah. Like throughout the draft process, I forgot like what post it was pertaining to, but you can either share the screen or you can just relay it.
I can like over like I
yeah, you can overview it.
Yeah. So I think I was posting to like a fan or something on one of like the UFL official posts. He was like, they were like asking, where is Jamar? And then I'm like, oh, he doesn't want to play in the league or whatever. And then I think, yeah, like about a day or two later, Jamar replies saying, oh, yeah, no, I never said that, but go off. And like when I saw that, I felt so embarrassed. Like I had to reply to that like 5 seconds later. I'm like,
it's funny though because he had his comment had a lot more likes in here, so it was kind of considered like a ratio. But I will say this. Something that I have noticed, and Raf, you can chime in on this if you kind of agree. Birmingham Stallions fans, like they're a great fan base, but sometimes they're not as like well aware or like educated like about like other aspects of the league. Like Jamar was obviously like I didn't think he was going to get drafted. Like just because I kind of knew like okay what the structure of the league was and like the players they were targeting. Like I didn't think he was going to get drafted or like return or even like be protected for that matter. Obviously we saw who the Stallions protected. Like I didn't think I know it was like Dawood Davis was one of the players.
They drafted Dawood Davis.
They drafted, yeah. So like I didn't see it, but like so but not everybody knows that. So sometimes it's a little bit hard to like, okay, well, if Diego, goes ahead with this comment, it's like, okay, that's right. He's in the right for that, but it's like, okay, he's just telling his fans. It's like, because that was his overall opinion. Like, he didn't think he would, get back. He didn't want to play in this league just because with some of the new beliefs and the individuals in the front office now, it's a little bit different. So, another member of the UFL community, Jaron Horton, very active on Pro Football Newsroom Discord, has also not been employed or hired by any of these coaching staffs. It was only a year ago where he was the DC for the Memphis Showboats, and now he's in the chat every day. He keeps saying like their league is not returning his calls. Like, I don't know why, but like something to monitor. That's just
Yeah, but it's like I understand why he's upset, but the league's obviously going in a separate direction.
yeah.
He can get a job elsewhere, just not in the UFL right now. Because remember, there are also players who last year, like somebody who was drafted by the Birmingham Stallions. What's his name? His name's blanking on me. He's wide receiver, played for the Generals. His name's
Cam Eccles-Luper.
Cam Eccles-Luper, exactly.
Yeah.
Cam Eccles-Luper hasn't played spring football in 2 years. And now he got drafted to the Birmingham Stallions. So it's like, you're going to see that trend, like not right now. Maybe in 2 years, somebody might give Horton a call being like, hey, we need the defensive coordinator. I'm putting together the roster. Just not right now because Chris Redmond doesn't know Horton that well.
Yeah.
Chris Redmond's
just as an example. Yeah, as an example.
But he was also, taking over the Showboats. Like, he doesn't know him. AJ McCarron doesn't know Jaron Horton that well.
Yeah.
So it's like it's like it's just not right now. He's not going to coach right now. Maybe if he coaches in Europe, he could probably coach in Europe. If the team in Europe comes calling, he could probably be the defensive coordinator. But it's just a not right now thing.
Yeah, I think you said it perfectly. I think that the pieces they have in place right now, it's just a little bit difficult for him to kind of break in. Obviously, like, we've seen how big like the spotlight is on the coaches, and like the staffs are kind of just like an afterthought, right? Like, I feel like in the USFL and previous leagues, like, it was kind of a collective effort, but I think that now, like, we've kind of moved on to like, oh, the coach is going to be doing everything. Like, when you hear names like Ted Ginn and AJ McCarron, like Diego was talking like about like, okay, should AJ McCarron call the offense? Should he do any of that? Like, realistically, no, but do fans want to see that? Of course they do, right? So it's like, okay, what's going to be best for the league? So it's like AJ McCarron, that's who people think of when they think of the Stallions now, because he's such a big name. He's played football at Alabama. He was formerly with the Battlehawks, and he faced off Beck, which we'll see. I'm sure, I believe, twice a year, if not once, because now we're all just one conference. We've kind of ditched the USFL, XFL separate conferences. We're all one, I believe. Could be wrong.
Yeah, one.
Yeah, so it's wild stuff, but
but no, Diego, you know how you had that Jamar interaction? I had an interaction with Mark Thompson.
Yeah.
Mark Thompson over a year ago.
Yeah.
This was back when he had been accused of scamming people because he was trying to sell us stuff, but there was not. They were getting some difficulty selling things and going all the way around, and shipping was being a big issue. So I DM'd him like 3 or 4 times, replying to a story, but like as like a joke, because I know he has like 100,000 followers at the time, like 50,000 followers, so he's not gonna respond. But then once the season wraps up, everything quiets down. It's like mid-September. He posted it on a story, and I was like, "This is stupid. What the hell is he posting?" And I said, "This is what getting cut does to a man." And he replies to me, and he says, "Bro, get off my dick, bro. Go get yourself some money."
Yeah.
And I'm just like, there ain't no way you just said all that.
Yeah.
Nah, I will forever be a professional Mark Thompson hater.
Yeah, no, that was a moment, but I was like, man, that's it put me in a different spot.
Yeah. So, I would say we're very, like, just us three. I'm not so much. Like, Pro Football Newsroom is a little bit different. Like, we have some former players in there. Jay Sternberger has said some stuff in there in recent weeks. I had like a notable comment that he said, but I kind of forgot. Oh, well, we'll get into that in a little bit. But I don't think he said that directly, but we'll get into what happened here in a little bit. So before we get into that, each team's quarterback room. So what we'll do is just going around the horn, us three. Everybody choose kind of their favorite and their least favorite, just in terms of maybe like, okay, if you have previous prior NFL experience with this quarterback, like you know them, you've watched them, you've maybe they were a prospect for you in one of the recent drafts in the NFL. Or if maybe you just, you're going on a limb and you're saying like, okay, I don't think this quarterback with this coach is going to pan out too well. You could always do that as well. I'm going to let one of you guys kick it off here just because I want to kind of mull it over a little bit. I'm going to put it up on the screen as well, just so we give anybody watching a visual. So yeah, there you have it. So the UFL court, I'll toggle between screens here, but this is one page, and then we have our second page here of quarterback. So
here's where something get interesting. I don't think that DC copying everything they did last year is gonna work. It's not how these things roll. They can't just do everything they did last year and expect it all to work out. They're bringing the same quarterbacks in, which worked good for them last year. But when you got to go up against guys like Dorian Thompson-Robinson, who's fresh off preseason, Michael Pratt, who's fresh off an NFL season, Ben Wolf, fresh off an NFL season.
Yeah.
Your competition you're stacking up, it's not the same. You're not playing up against the same teams. But I do like the addition for Orlando, especially Orlando getting two significant guys such as in Jack Plummer and Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Next quarterback should be named, which would probably be like the Tommy DeVitos, the people who are still on NFL rosters right now.
Yeah.
Because we just saw Ben DiNucci actually just today get signed to the Denver Broncos. So we got Hunter Deckers as well. Hunter Deckers, in my eyes, I think is a QB1 in Houston.
Okay.
But that's just in my eyes. But I think I give DC a grade D, a D grade for this draft.
A D? Okay.
A D.
Okay.
And then I give in Dallas as well. I give Dallas a C plus. Okay, they needed. I don't get Austin Reed. Okay, like Perez, this might be his last season, it might not. He shows regression every year. People hate to hear that, but it's true. He shows regression every single year.
Yeah.
They need like juice, like Columbus brought, or like Orlando brought. Like they can't just stick with the same guy and expect the results to be different.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think with the new league and the players that we just saw got brought in on, especially on the defensive side of the football, which is who they'll be playing and facing against, like they're not going to have, the same stuff isn't going to work. Jordan Teamu isn't going to be flashy in the new UFL. And
he wasn't even flashy last year.
He wasn't.
That's the problem.
Yeah. I mean, you said it, Perez has been regressing and, he's on the brink of retirement. Like literally, he's the last person they needed. They needed like more of a younger quarterback, like a Donovan Smith, maybe. Like here, I can toggle between the tabs. Like Donovan Smith, like QB2 for the Gamblers. Like they could have used a player like him, like a project. Him and Reed, though. Yeah.
I think adding on to that comment, I think that's one of the reasons why Mike Rapoli, I think like a month or two ago, wasn't really high on like more of like the veteran players still being in the UFL, because like where do you want to be? Like, do you really want to face off against like a bunch of guys who are trying to make names of themselves, and just really just show that young talent that the UFL is trying to bring? But also, I think that's also why a lot of people weren't happy with names like Andrew Heasley, Nolan Henderson, Luke Lennon, just those guys. Why didn't they come back? Like, I think that's like great points that Roth has just touched up on. Like, it just makes you wonder what's going to happen, but it also makes me happy to see like guys like Jason Bean is going to take a chance on the UFL, and this could be just fantastic for his career.
Yeah, Jason Bean also, he's coming off a season. I believe he was with the Colts. I could be wrong.
He spent time with Colts and Texans. Colts and Texans.
Colts and Texans. Okay, so I was gonna potentially say that he was behind Rivers and that whole mix, but
Nope,
no,
that
he
was
wasn't.
Riley Leonard. That was Riley
Riley
Leonard.
Leonard. Yeah. So yeah. So now I mean, my overall opinion, I definitely agree with Roth. I think some of the quarterbacks that we've seen in the past are not going to be as successful because I mean they weren't honestly last year. We saw like teams were caught up on them very quickly, and kind of showed like okay, these are the weak links of the league. Like every year in the early going of the season, like you establish who's the weak links. I feel like Perez, Teamu, like obviously the defenders won the whole thing, but it's like how does that like I don't think he was a instrumental part. It was really a collective effort. I think he was you know obviously people can disagree with me, but I think he just didn't have as big of a role as other quarterbacks could have had, like if they were in his position. So overall, I mean, if we just look through the two teams, so I don't know. I mean, as an Aviators fan, I'm tempted to pick them. I think they had a good draft. Like Jalen Morton, Jalen McClendon, Clayton Tune. Like Clayton Tune's not the best player. Like Rock is briefly. Morton and McClendon kind of make it interesting, in a potential like QB battle. And I think either one of them can start. And I'd be interested to see like which one Ted Ginn is more like kind of favoring.
Low-key.
Yeah.
Say low-key, I think Tune wins, McClendon plays QB2, and Morton rides quarterback 3 all year. Like that's probably the most realistic scenario.
So you think Tune is going to win despite like not like liking him as a player, right?
No, I don't. I mean, as a player, I don't really like him. He's a pretty decent guy, but I will say it's true. He's a pretty decent guy. No, it's true. But no, Jalen McClendon, because it just makes the most sense.
Yeah,
it makes the most sense. It's the most rational. It makes the most sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, listen, I totally agree with that. I think Birmingham also very interesting. Tyler Elgersma, former CFL player. We got a lot of Canadian eyes on that, like for a good bit after he was drafted. But yeah, I mean, listen, with that, I think so. My personal favorite, I would probably say either Columbus, just like with kind of the versatility, like this guy goes down, like now you try this, like this guy, something happens to him, like now you go over and you do something completely different. But then I also like the Kings, like Jason Bean. I think he can look good. We saw him get drafted as Showboats a couple years ago. The rights were not retained. Like the rights stayed with the NFL. So that was unfortunate, but he's, most likely gonna get a starting opportunity here. So I think that's also going to be interesting. So I'd probably say like my favorite is probably the Aviators or the Kings, and then my least favorite is either the Gamblers or the Renegades. I'd probably say the Renegades, just because Perez and Reed, like you need different skill set type quarterbacks. And I think those guys are very similar. Like Perez is older, obviously, but Reed has like similar traits that I don't think are going to be very complimentary if one of them goes down like at all. So I don't.
And I think the most eyes are going to be on Orlando because you don't just bring in Jack Plummer and DTR. Like those are where everybody's keeping their eyes on.
I'm not like very well like obviously I know who DTR is and I know who Jack Plummer is, but I'm not like as familiar with them as some of the other quarterback rooms. I mean I know you guys must be a little more well versed like in how they operate, but yeah, what do you guys think? Just kind of like final thoughts on the quarterback rooms.
I'm gonna chime in here really quick. I do really like St. Louis's QB room right now. Michael Pratt, as we talked earlier about, I think he's going to be a great young quarterback. He's going to get to learn a bit from Brandon Silvers, who has plenty of spring football experience. I think to start the season, Brandon Silvers will probably get the nod for like the first 2 or 3 weeks, and then depending on how he plays, he may either stay in or Michael Pratt will get the nod. Ben Woolridge, I don't really know too much about him as the other two, but he could also get a bit of a nod as well, maybe in like week 10 or whatever. But I want to talk about the Birmingham Stallions room a bit. I think this room was really interesting to look at, especially when the draft was taking place. I'm really happy to see Matt Corral back. This is going to be his third season with the Stallions. I think, it's good to see him back, but will he be a consistent playmaker? How is he going to fit in with Agent McCarron's offense? Taylor Elsgerma and Jaron Hall, I'm also really interested. Hall especially. He's played a lot with the Vikings. I think, it's just really just going to come down to who's the best man in training camp.
Yeah.
And then, as you guys said about the Renegades, I also agree that it's still very much lacking. Same with the defenders. How is that going to play out? And then the Aviators, I also really like. There's just a lot of talent in that room that you could pick off from. But I mean, all in all, I'm really excited to see what these quarterbacks are going to be producing. PTR, Jason Bean, very strong names.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I listen, I totally agree. I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing here. I think we've kind of touched up on a lot of really good things. I will say, like, one thing that is going to be difficult with this league is like, how is the quarterback play going to pan out? Like, that's the $1 million question, because obviously we all want seats to be filled, we all want the stadiums to be in full capacity, but it's hard sometimes when quarterbacks don't perform their best. But no, I'm confident. I'm hopeful with some of these names they brought, and some of the teams, who they drafted. I'm confident that we'll have solid quarterback play. But again, it's gonna fall on the shoulders of other players as well, like the O lines and the wide receivers and the tight ends and the running backs. And so, but yeah, no, it's definitely a great topic to kind of think about. Like, if you're getting into the UFL as a fan, just look at maybe just, look at this post, like just take this post, for example, and maybe see if you know any of these players from, hearing about them in the news, like in the NFL in the past, or hearing about them in college. And it's like picking out with your brain, like, okay, who could really shine, who has the best potential to really light it up in the UFL. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing here. So our head coaches are set. I'm going to take a second here to look for the head coaches for that, but no, I think we had some more hirings the last time we took the air. I think it was only Ted Ginn. That's crazy. Was it?
Yeah, Ted Ginn, Agent McCarron,
Chris Redmond.
kind of just guys that they were only getting it going, because I think we were only at like 3 head coaches, and then it was like about a week or two before everyone else was revealed.
Yeah, so we kind of jumped the gun, if you would. Like, we saw Ted Ginn get hired, and we immediately assumed, like, okay, we have to go on. We have to, make an episode. I mean, that's fine. We just thought, because, like, didn't have a lot of experience. He didn't have a lot of, he's been out the NFL for a little while. So we just thought it was a good idea. But obviously, a lot of head coaches got hired in the following days. So, but yeah, so I'm just going to go ahead and flash that on the screen real quick. I was able to find the post relatively quickly here. So these are our head coaches for the 2026 season. Obviously, Shannon Harris coming back. We talked about him in the previous episode. We talked about Anthony Beck. That was also something that we mentioned, is that, like, he was still mulling over a couple head coaching jobs, and now over with the Storm. Great for him. I think the Storm are going to look a lot different. He's been very active on social media, this year, at least in the last couple months, since he got over there. So I'm really excited for that. And then, just, these other names. So, like, if we can all do one head coach that stands out to you guys, and then maybe one head coach that you might think could struggle his first year. What do you guys think?
And I like Kevin Sumlin back in Houston. I think that's a great one. He was a face for the Gamblers, although that team kind of sucked.
Yeah.
But I like it. But the Chris Redmond isn't. I low-key never knew he existed. I didn't even know who he was until I heard he was coached, and then I did
Honestly,
a little
I
digging.
didn't really know who he was either.
I did do a little digging. I was like, this could kind of work out.
Yeah.
But then once I saw Jason Bean, and I'm like, yeah, no,
Okay.
it might not work out. They might not have the right pieces. That might be my best way to say it.
Yeah. And then like Diego, what do you think? Obviously, we saw McCarron. What's funny was I thought the whole time that his picture was AI, like the one they used, because we saw that like maybe like 24 hours before he got hired. Like I don't vividly remember, but what do you think? What coach kind of stands out for you?
Yeah. I think similar to what you said, Ferris. I do really like the hiring of Ted Ginn. It kind of took me a while for it to sink in a bit, but I think after the draft, after like the regional allocations and whatnot, I think that he's going to be great for the Aviators. We'll touch up on it in a bit, but we saw the video of him wearing the new Aviators helmet, which is a little fun to see. No, I think he's going to be great for the locker room, great for these players. But one coach that I do want to talk about is Anthony Beck coming to the Orlando Storm. I know when I saw that on that one morning that he got hired, I was surprised a bit that he was even going to Orlando, because you would think he would stay with the Battlehawks, but when you like take the time to really let it like digest, it does make sense as to why he would move. I mean, he was great for the Battlehawks, especially for a local standpoint and for these players, but like he just could never really win a playoff game with the Battlehawks. Just there's always a piece that just could not connect for the Battlehawks. And I think they could have picked a better coach for Orlando, because as we've seen in other Orlando franchises in spring football, they just have never really been able to get it done. And I think that this will just give them the juice that they need to really just bring Orlando together and maybe possibly lead them to the playoffs. But I do really like the hiring of Rick Heisel as well. Not really a coach I really knew before either, but I think he's a very solid replacement for Bob Stoops, which when he announced he retired, I did not expect him to actually go. In regards to Skip Holtz, obviously, who stepped down, but no, I think the Heisel will be a fantastic coach. And then no, all in all, I think these are solid hires.
Yeah, I will say with New Heisel, he stands out to me because obviously you have the quarterback room with Perez, and I think he needs more of a veteran figure. Like, he is at the end of the rope of his career, and so I think a veteran presence like Bob Stoops, like someone who's coached before, like someone like Chris Redmond or AJ McCarron wouldn't have made a lot of sense, or even Ted Ginn. But I think Rick Neuheisel, he's been in that football scene before, like he's coached at a lot of different areas. So I think it's really beneficial that they kind of got someone that kind of like fits the criteria, if you would, of a Bob Stoops. So yeah, no, I think everybody stands out to me. I think I will say some of them are more like homegrown. Like we talked about like the big draw on the big draw on like hiring people kind of like that had a history in that respective town. But I don't think we didn't see that theme really carry out. We saw Chris Redmond and Rick Neuheisel hired on the same day. I remember that because I was traveling and I happened to see both of those posts on the same day. So just a little side
Is that when
note,
you were going to LA?
Yeah,
Little classic, little fancy boy going to LA.
No. So, but yeah, no. So like, that's the thing though. It's crazy because it's like those were really. I think those were either the last hires like that we needed to have. That's kind of why they happened like really like a very quick turn of events. But no, all in all, I'm also very pleased with the head coaching groups that we have. So for one second, let me just mute.
All right, this was like cool.
I'm just gonna talk about Ricky Prohl just really quick.
Yeah.
I think he's another great hiring for St. Louis.
Yeah.
One thing about him is that he actually had prior experience with the Battlehawks as a wide receiver coach in the 2023 version of the XFL. So it is nice to see the Battlehawks hire someone that has experience with Anthony Beck's staff. And also his son Austin Pearl also played in with the Battlehawks as well. So no, I think the Battlehawks will be fine. They obviously brought back Brandon Silvers, which is probably a guy that Prowl really likes. And no, it's just really felt like we didn't really touch up on Ricky Prowl really quick. So just thought I'd give my thoughts.
Yeah.
I think he might low-key hire his son though. He might have his son be a wide receivers coach for him.
Yeah, that would be an interesting development, wouldn't it? Obviously, he was a former wide receiver with the Battlehawks, and could be a potential full circle if Ricky decides to bring on his son Austin. So, all right, I'm gonna stop sharing here. Let's see. So the schedule drops on Thursday. Obviously, we're still told it's gonna be 10 weeks. Just kind of your standard. Maybe like college regular season, just with the 10 weeks before getting into playoffs. What do you guys think? Kind of just like of maybe what the schedule will bring. What's it gonna entail? Obviously we have to see. I'm interested to see how they do it, just because we're all one conference now. Like they're not gonna do XFL versus XFL, or formerly XFL versus XFL twice. Twice a season. They're not going to do USFL, formerly USFL twice a season. So it's going to be interesting to see how they kind of format it. But
I think I think from my understanding, I think that they're going to have each team at least play each other once, and then at least one team you'll have to play twice. So I'm wondering, how are they going to do it? Let's say, for example, my Stallions. Are they going to base it off maybe the Stallions and Renegades playing twice? Is it going to be the Battlehawks? Could it possibly be the Storm? Since you would have that AJ McCarron versus Anthony Beck rivalry. It's just, how are they going to format this? I do think that the Renegades and the Houston Gamblers will probably most likely play each other twice. I don't know if they're gonna just pick it out of the box and just say, "Hey, you will play each other," or if it will just be a yearly rotation. But no, I'm very interested to see how this is gonna work. I'm excited to see it as one conference. You're not gonna have the whole controversy of the Battlehawks not making it in the 2023 playoffs when they went 7-3. So no, I think it was the right thing to do to just make it one big conference.
Yeah, I mean, something I'll note with that is that it's like, I just hope that they drop the schedule all at once. It was a pain. It was a struggle getting the draft out. Because, well, I wouldn't say it was a struggle necessarily. I would just say some of us were misinformed. Like we thought, okay, everything is going to happen today, right? Like just taking maybe the first day of the week. But then in reality, it was, like a 3-day process where kind of the free agents, and then, by position and by wide receivers, O-line, defensive back, tight end, whatever it was. So I've been told, I haven't been told anything otherwise. Like we've been told the schedule in its entirety is going to drop on Thursday. Like it's going to be kind of difficult to like push it back in any sort of way. Like you can't like showcase half of it. You can't drop half of it and then, hide the other half. You kind of have to do it all in its glory. So that was just something I thought of. It's like they, some of us thought like the draft was just going to kind of ease out, but it's not how it happened at all. So just something to kind of bring up there. So the staffs are starting to fill out. We've seen some notable names. We've seen former football players. We've seen former NFL coaches. We've seen. I haven't researched them too much, honestly. Like if we're talking for this video, if you guys have, then I'd love to hear them. But I just, I wanted to put this in the topics list because I think it's a great point of emphasis that like some of these first time head coaches, like in any type of football, are not going to be doing everything for their first year. Like they have help, they have the right pieces in place to kind of support them. So, yeah, if you guys kind of had any thoughts on that, it's good that we're starting to see more and more. We're really just starting to see the coordinators pan out, but we're going to start seeing positional coaches. I would love Jaron to, I know the OCDC is kind of being filled out for most teams, but if he can even get a positional, I don't know if he'd take it, but just something to consider if I was potentially him. So, do
I
you guys
can
have any?
list a few
Yeah,
names that
yeah.
have been hired so far. Most notably for St. Louis, they've hired AJ Smith as the offensive coordinator, which I think is a great decision. He gets to pick one of the most storied teams in spring football and really just take this opportunity by the horns. And I think this could be a great thing for St. Louis. And then Corey Chamberlain, the former defensive coordinator for the Birmingham Stallions, is hired for defensive coordinator. I was a bit sad to see him go because I really like just how he constructed our defense. But I think for St. Louis, I think that he's going to do a fantastic job. He gets to work with names like Travis Feeney and Mike Rose and just the guys we've kind of just grown to love a bit. And then another name that I wanted to touch up on really quick is Todd Haley for the Columbus Aviators. He's now the offensive coordinator. I know Ferris isn't too
Oh,
as a
yeah,
tight
go ahead. Yeah.
All right, drag us straight to hell, please.
Also the former coach of the Memphis Showboats and the Tampa Bay Bandits, so he does have spring football experience. I don't know how he's gonna do, but it's better that he's an OC than a head coach. I think he knows that wide receiver room a lot better than Ted Ginn, and he'll just serve that veteran presence that I think Ted Ginn will definitely need for his coaching debut.
Yeah, no, I will say about Todd Haley, first seeing that news, I was not in a good state of mind, just kind of flashing back to the Bandits days and the Showboats days. But I will say that it kind of grew on me like by the hour, a couple hours went by. I went in the Pro Football newsroom. People were bringing up like how he was the OC with the Steelers, back in the Big Ben days, a little throwback there, Roth, a ball in his eyes. But I think the OC is a good spot for him. Obviously, being a head coach is a lot of responsibility. So having, being an OC or DC is, a lot less of a responsibility that you have to maintain. So I'm hoping he does well. Like obviously, he's a fan of the team. I'm hoping he coaches well. But also, if you remember Corey Coleman in that famous Hard Knocks video, very, very famous. His interaction with him, not very pleasant, but yeah, Raf, you have some?
Yeah, no, Todd Haley was used to be a coach for the Chiefs back in around 2009 to 2011.
Yeah.
And they were in a survive to make the playoff game with his quarterback Matt Castle. They got into a heated argument, benched Matt Castle. Castle ran back out on the field. And then they sent J.P. Grossman back out on the field, like, yo, we don't need this Castle guy out there. Or it wasn't Grossman, it was some other guy. But then I guess Matt Castle said, nah, he ran back out on the field again. And then won them the game. Pretty interesting. Like as a head coach, Haley's pretty bad, but he's more like he's Arthur Smith, a really good offensive coordinator. Like he's a great OC. But of course, when you're coaching a super team with the super offense, anybody could look good. Unless you're Kevin Laiolota for Kevin Patolu for the Eagles offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
But other than that, like if you're coaching a super team, of course you're gonna make them look good.
Yeah, definitely. I think you hit the nail on the head. That kind of goes for any coach. Like Todd Haley, obviously, he's had his fair share of coaching opportunities, and some of them he's done good at, and some of them he hasn't done so good at. So it's like, okay, like what went wrong. Sometimes it's the players. Sometimes it's, him being a little too maybe potentially like micromanaging, like you said, like benching his quarterback and him re-entering the game and making like a miraculous play. But no, I think the staffs are going to fill out really I'm hoping it's a seamless process here in the next couple weeks because it would, just in the time of everything, starting to happen, we have NFL Super Bowl. It's going to be taking place soon, and national championship for college football is tonight. So it would be in the best interest, like if we can get as many eyes on the league as possible, like as soon as possible. Like obviously we have, college football. Last game will be tonight. And then, we'll have the conference championship for NFL. We'll have the Pro Bowl games, and then we'll have the Super Bowl. So it's like, how do we kind of go from here, like in terms of the timeline? I think they've done a good job so far, like we said, like the names, but I was kind of getting off a little off topic, but yeah, so we're going to go ahead to the helmets and uniforms. I had that pulled up. I'm going to go ahead and show it here. I'm just gonna. What are you guys' thoughts before I show them? Just I should have them here.
Those
Yeah.
are just sketches, so I don't know if that's gonna be the
Well,
entirety.
that here I have it. That is micropole. I didn't actually realize that. I told Diego this. Like I didn't know that was him. Right? No, it's him. Okay. There you go. Because it says as a co-owner, but it's like there's so many impersonation accounts on Twitter nowadays. Like I didn't know if it was actually him or not. But yeah, this is what we have. This is what we've come up with. So what do you guys think? I know there's sketches, but
To start it off, I personally hate it. I can tell just looking at this that this isn't sketches, it's AI. I don't know what software the UFL decided to use, but I'm not high on it. And one of the biggest reasons, I'm gonna wait to make my Stallions comment, but I'm not a fan of the Storm sketch. I don't like that it's just black uniforms. It's not really a lot of purple except maybe like a smudge on the shoulder pads. And I just don't think that it's a really good sketch for the Orlando Storm. I think the Gamblers kind of look a little bit like the Niners here. And then now going on to my Stallions, I don't like this sketch at all. I just don't think that this gold look is going to work. I feel like it's something you would see in Madden, not something you would want to see in a professional league. I personally think that our crimson uniforms should still be our home jerseys, but if they want to go with gold, you should only make it the away uniforms, not something you would want to wear all the time at Protective Stadium. But in a more positive light, I do like the Kings and the Aviators sketch. I think they do look really good. I think that the Kings, maybe if they add some sort of element from like the Louisville or like the other teams, I think that they could be very good uniforms. But no, those are just my thoughts to start it off.
Yeah, I totally agree. Something, as an Aviators fan, I personally don't like the uniform helmet combo. I don't know if you guys are kind of in the same boat, but like I don't like that bold blue and then or like the light blue and then you kind of have like the Patriots, if you would, like kind of like uniform colors, but it's like
It reminds me of the Toronto Argonauts mixed with like the New England Patriots. It's the same helmet and the scheme, and the Renegades. I don't see it, bro. That's got to be AI.
No, it definitely is, because you can see the font of United Football League is different. It's a different font from what they use. Also, the football that says UFL, the logo is also not the same. So it's definitely AI, but he wanted to push something out there. He just wanted to kind of get fans to kind of just look over something here until we get also schedules and single game tickets dropping on the 22nd, so following with the schedule. We've already seen season tickets, and I've allegedly heard that Mike Rapoli or the UFL is not allowing like cancellation. So like if you bought your season tickets at a certain point, then that's it. Like no cancellations from here on out. So like if you bought them when they were live, that's it. Like you can't go back. Like no cancellations, no refunds, and you got to just stay true. So, but that's another topic. So, so yeah, these are the helmets and the uniforms. I'm pleased with them and in some regard, but I don't think obviously it's not going to be the finished product. So, but yeah, so we're gonna get before we wrap it up here. We have a couple names to kind of mention. Diego, a lot of your former team's players. CJ Marable, Jay Sternberger, and Amari Rogers all retire. Amari Rogers was drafted by the Aviators, but then decided to retire. I'm not sure why, but Jay Sternberger, I believe he retired before the draft. Could be mistaken.
Yeah, it was before.
Yeah, and then CJ Marable also. So, yeah, to these players, thank you for your time in the spring football scene, as well as congratulations on an excellent football career. Whether that's whether that you played in the NFL, whether that you played in the UFL. We're glad that you were part of the process and the journey. So
I think if
yeah.
I remember correctly, obviously CJ Marable was with the Chicago Bears for one of the off seasons. He got pretty far, I think, to like August, and then he was cut in the final cut process.
They activated him.
I believe I saw something that he was pretty upset when that happened, but then obviously when the Stallions picked him up, I think that just really just gave him an opportunity to really just play, the sport he loved, and then, I think just wait. Were you gonna say something?
I was gonna say when he was with Chicago, he actually got activated back mid-season because they were dealing with some players that had. I don't remember who the running back was. I was a little bit after the time of Tariq Cohen, so it was a little bit after that.
It might have been 2021, I think.
It was 21 around there, but they were dealing with some injuries and some COVID players. Oh, it was David Montgomery. That's right. It was David Montgomery at the time, and if David Montgomery wasn't able to pass his COVID test or not COVID test or physical, he would have been signed and activated to the active roster. And that didn't happen, and they just ended up cutting him and didn't come back. So,
yeah.
But
the rest worked out because he won like 3 UFL championships and pretty good
The
running
rest
back.
is history. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was a great honor to see him play for as long as he did. And then same with Sternberger. He was a guy that I loved to watch, especially in that 2023 season. Rogers was fun as well. I honestly did not expect him to retire during the draft.
Well, I think he just like got drafted and was like, nah, I don't want to play.
Yeah, I will say one thing though. As an Aviators fan, I think we have the right pieces at receiver. Like obviously him retiring is not the end all be all. Like I don't think obviously he would have made our room a lot, he would have added a lot, but I don't think I think the guys that we added, I'm pretty confident in their abilities to produce. So I'm upset for him because he's a great player and he's done a lot for our league and we've covered him a lot in the last couple of years. But at the same time, as a current fan of the team, I see that the players that we currently have are good enough, are gonna be able to kind of supplant what he might have been able to produce. So yeah, Ralph, you have anything? Oh, okay.
That'd be it.
Okay, yeah. So before we get off the air here, so UFL to NFL recent success. Diego, I'm so sorry. Last night, Rams taking a close one over the Bears, 20-17. Great game. Harrison Mevis knocking down the game-winning kick from 42 yards to send the Rams to the NFC Championship. And I will say this, Harrison Mevis really had an a fantastic season. We saw Josh Carty, the other Rams kicker, in his place for the first couple weeks. Well, actually, might have been a little bit longer than that. And then Mevis was thrusted into the starting role, and ever since, like, he might have just missed like a kick or two. Like he was really on top of his game, really similar to Brandon Aubrey. It would be great to see him kind of have a full season under his belt. Obviously, only had maybe 10, 11, 12 games, but no, Harrison Mevis, just a player we wanted to touch up on. The success that he showed this season, obviously at the biggest stage, like we talked about. So, what do you guys think, Diego, former Stallion here? I know
I can take the mic on this one.
Okay.
You know, as upsetting as the loss was, I'm not that upset over the loss just because I think the Bears played a great game. But also, I was also really proud to see Mevis just do something like that to help the Rams get to the NFC Championship. And I think with the rate that the Rams are going right now, I wouldn't be surprised if Mevis gets a large extension that Brandon Aubrey got with the Cowboys. I don't know. I could see maybe like a 3-year deal, not something outrageous. I think like a 3-year deal might suffice, but no, I think he's done absolutely fantastic so far.
You know, here's a little tidbit. I just came up with this like in the last couple seconds. The last two kickers that have gone against the Bears, like they've lost in both by a last-second field goal. Jake Bates and Harrison Mevis. You had the Lions game, Week 18.
Sean Parker Romo too, in that Vikings game as well.
Oh, that's right. Okay, well, I mean, it's crazy. Like, was that Week 17?
Around there. It was the end of the season. My family and I were actually there for that game.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it's just crazy. Like, we've had so many good like UFL kickers get into the league, have solidified a starting role. Andre Schmidt was also another name you had on here, Diego. Had a really good season with the Browns. I'm trying to think. Oh, I remember Vic said something. He's like, he missed a game-sealing field goal in Week 1 against the Bengals, and then he hits a couple game winners like towards the end of the season, and now everybody's. I think it was the Steelers game. I think it was the last game of the season, and then now everybody was just like, they hated him. They were like coming for his neck. That's the common term. And then at the end of the season for that game, everybody was loving him. But I don't know. So just another tidbit, but just some UFL to NFL recent success. It was really the season of the specialists, wasn't UFL? I think his name is UFL specialist on Instagram. He's always like reposting stuff, and I think you guys should definitely check him out. I want to see if we can get him on here for maybe a feature before the season gets closer, but he would be a great guy to kind of talk about like, okay, like, why is it that like specialists are just more likely to pan out? Like, obviously they have the whole job to themselves, but it's like, okay, it's still hard the transition to make. Like, Harrison Mevis was kicking in front of, all those Bears fans and like, cold conditions. It's like, it's hard. So versus like you're kicking in 2 to 3 domes per year in the UFL. So it's like, it's a little bit more difficult, definitely. So we'll definitely discuss that in future terms, but if you guys had anything else here before we kind of go off the air, for all college football fans, I just wanted to provide a little update here before we get off the air. So currently 17-7, 5 minutes left in the third quarter. Indiana's up.
Yeah, let's go.
All right. So, you guys will have 5 minutes left in the third quarter. Still a lot of time here. We'll get up the post here. Definitely follow Springing Into Football, Spotify, YouTube, as well as Instagram. Diego,
TikTok.
Follow Diego, Beham Stallions Nation, Raf, all of your pages.
D-Raf sent me. Nope. D-Raf sent me.
No?
I retired.
Right.
I retired from spring football.
Yet you still collab with my posts. So I don't.
I'll still collab with the post though. So that's true.
Yeah.
That's
so,
true loyalty.
Yeah. So follow all of our socials. Thank you guys so much for joining. We had a great time tonight, and get ready for the schedule on Thursday, and make sure to grab some tickets if you can. Obviously, we know it's hard with.
Giddy up!
All right. Thank you for joining, Diego.
All right, see you later.
Yep.